Chapter 16. Faith is the bird that sings when the dawn is still dark. Sir Rabindranath Tagore. Our next stop is the Tinch Island, which means rock. It is appropriately named for this tiny island. Barely bigger than a city block, the little island supports primitive yet picturesque village of 55 people. It is a quiet place. There are no engines or even any electricity here. Tinch is an isolated island where people work and live out their entire lives, yet it totally lacks the mechanical sound of industry. Walking one of the jungle paths, I hear only the sound of children's laughter against a background of gentle breaking surf and the rustling wind in the palm trees. There are birds everywhere, mostly goonies, sitting on or walking around the ground. They are unimpressed by my presence and refuse to budge from my path. So it is I who moves out of their way. Stepping from the dense jungle onto a hidden white sand beach, I find a group of children playing. One of them has a colorful bird on his shoulder, which squawks loudly at my intrusion. While the big yellow bird eyes me suspiciously, I watch the kids pushing stick canoes into the water. One of them offers to share his lunch of taro root chips with me. A fried taro chip is as thick as a pancake, and each one takes several minutes of industrious chewing. The bland chip's only flavor is the acid bite of charcoal. I gratefully decline a second offer of taro root chips and silently promise myself never to accept another one. Instead, I give the kids my apple, which is something they have never seen before. The shiny fruit passes from child to yellow bird, then back to me. I give my piece to a goonie. Never having had an apple before, the goonie spits it on the ground and stomps on it. The first dive of the expedition is in the village's underwater gardens. The gardens are found just beyond the surf zone in 6 to 10 feet of water. The villagers define the boundaries of each garden with shallow walls built of coral rubble. Inside the small enclosures are giant clams, some of them weighing over 400 pounds. The villagers search the underwater reefs for juvenile clams, which they carefully move into their gardens. Some of these clams are so old they are passed from grandfather to father to son, except for the bamboo and grass huts, a hollowed out canoe, and a shell necklace. This will be the children's only inheritance. The villagers will harvest a clam only during special holidays or in times of severe need. Unfortunately, these people who have so little sometimes fall prey to passing thieves in the night. Taiwanese fishermen come under the cover of darkness. With knives, they sever the main muscle that closes the giant clam's shell. Taking only the severed muscle, they abandon the rest of the animal to die. The clam, unable to close its protective shell, will be ravaged by scavenger fish and reef sharks. In the morning, the villagers will only find the empty shell. It always amazes me how greedy people find ways to justify their needs above the rights of others. For the thieves, the clam's muscle will make a small meal for just a few. For the village, the giant clam would have been a plentiful bounty for the sea, a meal eaten with great ceremony and appreciated by all. Woe to those who go to the great depths to hide their plans from the Lord, who do their work in darkness and think, who sees us? Who will know? Isaiah 29:15. Later, back aboard the Alcyon, I'm at the stern when the village medicine woman arrives in an outrigger canoe. As a team medic, I cannot resist sharing some of my medical supplies with her. In return, she gives me a toothless smile and a big coconut leaf full of taro root chips. It is almost sunset when I can unload all of the chips on unsuspecting crew members. Then, as the sun sinks toward the horizon, I slip over the side with one of the Cousteau underwater scooters. We will be sailing after dinner, and this will be our only opportunity for a night dive. I am planning on using the scooter for some fast underwater exploring to find the best possible filming location. Triggering the scooter, I head out on the surface for deeper water. A minute later, I turn to get my bearings and am awed by a spectacular sight. 100 yards away, the Alcyon lays at anchor with Tench Island looming behind her. From the water, I see the radiant colors of the sunset washing over the wind ship's graceful hull and tall metal sails. The futuristic looking vessel almost appears to be a visiting alien ship, caught in the bright halo of a searchlight. I see the rest of the team readying their dive gear. Dressed head to toe in silver wetsuits, they look like exotic space visitors. Their metallic wetsuits shimmer with reflected light as they move about the deck. In the surrounding water, many of the villagers are paddling hollowed out canoes. A torch burns at the bow of each outrigger. The yellow dancing flames circle the research vessel, lends a strange primal contrast to my mental spaceship image of the Alcyon. Placing the scuba regulator into my mouth, I again trigger the scooter and begin a rapid descent. Below me, all is cast in shadowed darkness. Switching on the scooter's headlamp, the bright beam startles a 20-pound tuna. The silver fish flees downward as I follow in a high-speed pursuit. Beneath me, the scooter's beam paints a shallow reef with its wide arch of brilliant light. Under the artificial glow, the rich colors of the reef leap forward. I see white, soft sponges that look remarkably like snowbanks. Skinny, long-armed, starfish-like brown creatures called crinoids lean out into the slight swaying surge. Their slowly waving spindled arms resemble leafless trees in a gusting wind. It is as if I am passing into a winter wonderland. Multicolored corals glisten like spilt candy on a bed of sparkling white sand. The dazzling display reminds me of Christmas. Flying closer to the reef, I pass over a teddy bear starfish with its brown body and cream-colored legs. The dive pleases and fascinates the kid in me. Quickly returning to the Windship, I lead the team to what would be known as by all Christmas Reef. The night dive becomes a holiday event, a celebration of living color. A couple days later, we arrive at Manus Island, which has a thriving population of 30,000 people. This is a busy, crowded place with constant noise. Everywhere there are the unmuffled sounds of motor scooters, boat engines, and diesel trucks that belch black clouds of acid smoke. Radios blare from taxis, bars, and from thatch huts. The street gutters are littered with trash and debris. The island's small, bustling towns have movie theaters and video rental stores. From the billboards, I see that the number one movie star in Papua New Guinea is Sylvester Stallone as Rambo. It is beneath one of the Rambo billboards that we meet Job, the man we have come to interview. Job is not an appealing person to look at. He is dirty and wearing torn clothes. Empty beer bottles cover the trash heap at the side of his dilapidated hut. It reeks of rot and decay, as does the man himself. Job is a cripple, a feat of his own accomplishment. During World War II, intense fighting raged on Manus Island. The retiring armies left excess munitions in large abandoned heaps. Job has spent years raiding the old munition dumps for their explosive powders, which he converts into underwater bombs to kill fish. Job calls his improvised explosive devices DuPont Luries. He finds a fish-filled reef and tosses a homemade bomb into the water. The explosion kills all the fish within a wide area. Only a small number can be recovered by Job, particularly in his crippled state. 5 years ago, one of the bombs went off when he was preparing to throw it. The explosion took his arm and one eye and peppered him with shrapnel. I look at him without sympathy. He is still relentlessly bombing the reefs. In my mind, I vividly remember the devastated reef we saw only yesterday. Closing my eyes, I again swim along the length of a shallow reef. It is devoid of fish and crustaceans. Even the delicate algae are brown and dead. The once beautiful corals now lie in shattered heaps. The bombs gouge large holes in the reef, leaving numerous fossil falls of tumbled broken rock, and have turned live corals into rubble. I cannot help compare this sick and dying place with the startling beauty of Christmas Reef. I feel the anger begin to well up within me. Opening my eyes, I again look at the broken man who wantonly causes all this havoc and destruction. Suddenly, I realize that the explosives have left scars above the water as well as below. This man's mind and body mirrors the destruction of the reef, and, like the reef, the man suffers. My anger fades in an instant. To save the reef, the first step might be to save the man. If left to his ways, Job will not change, nor will the reef get the opportunity it needs to heal. Looking at the broken man, I see what is missing in his life: hope. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Proverbs 13:12. Glancing back at the outskirts of the small town, I see shadows of the once beautiful island, now buried under piles of industrial waste. The destruction Job practices underwater is echoed here on the land by others who are just as uncaring. For a moment, I have an overpowering sense that something important is missing in this bustling island town. I see traffic congestion on the main street with this pall of acrid smoke. I see a group of drunk men arguing outside of a bar. Above them hangs a rusty movie marquee, missing several letters. Then it hits me. On the taxi ride from the harbor through the middle of town to Job's shack, I have not seen a single church. People who lack spiritual hope live mostly for the present. Many of them do not plan for nor care much about future generations. Their main motivation in life is to take and not to give. When people lack a close personal relationship with God and with each other, the ways of man are set free to ravage without moral restraints. Greed is unleashed upon the land and upon its helpless creatures. Yet hope, even in the midst of destruction, is never lost. I know that somewhere on this island there are Christian missionaries teaching that forgiveness comes hope. Christian fellowship recovers people's lost dreams and restores happiness where there is none. Dreams and beasts are two keys by which we find out the keys to our own nature. Ralph Waldo Emerson.